Let's talk about Three Eye Atlas. So, the Minor Planet Center, MPC, issued a formal circular announcing a coordinated 2 month observation campaign for Three Eye Atlas. It's led by the International Asteroid Warning Network, that's IAWN. And this campaign is set to run from November 27th, 2025 to January 27th, 2026. They're going to obtain precise measurements for planetary defense purposes, right? They're saying that this is basically a situation that could have been a planetary strike. And so they want to observe this in detail and get a better idea of, how we might project and predict when an object is going to have a planetary strike. Pretty scary. Now, I can tell you that people are trying to turn that into something alarming, and there's two sides of it. There's the R&D side. We're just trying to figure it out, right? But there's also an ominous side that says, what if they think something's going to happen and they want to take a closer look, but they don't want to tell us that they think something might happen? That's that's what the conjecture is. That's what the questions are. Um, so there's new images of Three Eye Atlas. This is taken by Dobsonian Power. I talked about this in my earlier video. He basically has a special setup with a lot of filters, and he claims that we still have some limited optics on Three Eye Atlas, even in its position behind the sun, but it's just not optimum. And the big observation stations aren't going to look at it because it might damage their equipment. But he says it's a misnomer to say that we can't see it at all. We can. Now, let me just say that it is not an ideal situation. Even if he did zero in on it, and what he's claiming is that he entered the coordinates that NASA published, and he zoomed in and optimized, and he caught an image that doesn't look like a comet, right? But the image is hard to make out. It's not a slam dunk. It's not definitive. But I'm just telling you how he come about this. But I really like Dobsonian Power, and I like to watch his live streams. And I think he is a true amateur professional, right? I say that because he's not in the astrophysics academic, approved world there. He's definitely on the fringe. He's an amateur, but he's got some sophisticated equipment. It's really interesting live streams. If you catch his, I'm just going to tell you, he thinks it's alien, period. There's not really a lot of room for discussion with him. When you zoom in on the images he's provided, the processed images, so there's lots of filtering and stuff just to try to get at something reasonably visible, reveal a circular form and display patterns that look geometric rather than diffuse. And this is inconsistent with comets. That's probably a nice way to say it, right? But his images, it just doesn't look like a comet. And that's why he's just so convinced. He knows his equipment took that picture of Three Eye Atlas. He knows that's what it was. He says 99% sure. And it's not a comet. That's his ideal. So the energy surge that's about to happen, it's approaching perihelion. October 29th, we're roughly 1 week away from perihelion. It's receiving about 10 billion times more energy than when it was in deep space. I say that number because you need to understand the profound amount of energy that it is being exposed to without any kind of shielding. The reason I'm saying that, the reason I'm making a big deal about this, is comets change at perihelion. With that much energy hitting it, there's some sort of change on the surface. Off gassing changes the density, the makeup. Sometimes it destroys a comet, but it definitely changes it. And we're going to see how Three Eye Atlas changes. Remember, it got hit with a coronal mass ejection and just come out like a champ, barely any change. And how rare that was, how rare that a big coronal massive ejection was going to happen. Well, if I understand it right, and these are the reports or the projections, um, there is another coronal mass ejection. It happened yesterday, October 21st. It released a massive cloud of hot gas and magnetic energy called a coronal mass ejection, and it's heading straight for 3I Atlas again. Let's check in with what Christina Gomez, who's a space reporter, a UFO reporter, really. Let's check in to see what she has to say about it.
On October 21st, the sun threw out a massive cloud of hot gas and magnetic energy called a coronal mass ejection, and it's heading straight towards 3I Atlas. Data from a spacecraft monitoring the sun shows that electron levels have already jumped more than 10 times higher, and scientists expect another surge soon that could create a strong radiation storm. If this energy burst reaches Earth, it could cause the most severe type of geomagnetic storm.
What Stephen Burns is saying about it.
And right when that alignment hit the sun, we get this massive coronal mass ejection that's now launching towards 3I Atlas when it's at its greatest solar irradiance, likely its highest energy levels. And then we don't know what happens with when it gets hit. It's going to get hit by this radiation storm a lot stronger than us. Let us look at our NASA models for this, okay? So that's a coronal mass ejection, really big, big, big solar storm launch. We could get more. Those sunspot groups are still active, right? This could be the first of multiple.
That's Stephen Burns. Pretty sharp guy. I definitely respect him. He is a little out there when it comes to astrology and stuff, though, and all that star child or whatever they were talking about. So we've got perihelion on the 29th. We've got the coronal mass ejection is about to engulf it again. It's so much energy, it should do something to this comet. It should. And then the closest Earth approach between Earth and 3I Atlas is happening on December 19th. Now, in the midst of all this, SETI, which is the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, on the same day that the MPC issued its tracking circular, saying, "Hey, we're gonna take a look at this from an academic standpoint," SETI released a comprehensive update to its post-detection protocols for the first time in 15 years. Just so happens to be the same day. And so here we are with this global tracking campaign of an anomalous interstellar object, and now the protocol update happens. And we're not supposed to connect the two and go, y'all think something might be up. Because that's what's happening, right? These revised protocols expand beyond focusing only on radio signals and encompass all technosignatures. This could be an artificial structure. This could be engineered electromagnetic emissions. The important word is engineered, right? If it's an engineered transmission, and we know when it is, that is now considered a technosignature, that is considered possibly a communication. And so with this expanded scope to include technosignatures, they're also saying that there's new communication rules now, right? The updated protocol explicitly prohibits individuals from transmitting replies to extraterrestrial intelligence without prior consultation with the United Nations. That's a lot to take in, right? They're just saying that hey, we're just going to make this rule. Nobody can respond to the aliens without clearing it through the UN first. That's interesting timing that all this stuff is coming together. We're going to track it real close. We've got these, expanded scope of what communication is. We've got how we're going to respond to this communication. And on top of all this, so there's these oddities popping up, and, NASA and ESA and the Chinese Space Agency, they know that people are going, hey, what are y'all doing? Something's up. And yet there's been minimal public communication about 3I Atlas compared to previous interstellar objects like Oumuamua like there was all kinds of data coming in on that, but and we're not seeing anything with 3i Atlas. Now there are some speculations about the gathering of the 800 generals and military personnel, and that maybe there was actually something else said. um, I understand the need to start to frame this up as, hey, something's going on. I really don't think that meeting in Quantico had to do with it. I think it was that was more about shaking things up and setting a new tone. But I do agree that the advanced tracking, the expanded scope, the communication protocols, all this coming in at a time when they haven't released much information, much data at all. Kind of leaving us in the dark there, and that's what's raising all this speculation. So okay, perihelion coming up in a week, and coronal mass ejection is about to hit it again. Like if 3i Atlas comes out of those two events unscathed, it's hard to believe there's not some sort of artificial engineered covering, radiation shields or something, right? Because that's a lot of energy it's been subject to. Interesting day.